The Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro was recently released. I'm not going to do a video running down the specs of it. I wanted to compare the specs of the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro versus the Samsung Galaxy S20 because on paper, it seems like you're getting a Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra at less than half the price. To start it off, let's talk about the CPUs. If you're buying the 4G variant of the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, which it seems like you're gonna be able to do, you're gonna be getting the Exynos 990. Now the Exynos 990 chipset does have a higher single thread score by 2% over the Snapdragon 865. In multi-core though, it falls behind by almost 20%. It is worth noting that if you are buying the 4G variant of the S20 Ultra, you are going to be buying it for like £100 less or something like that, 100 euros less. At least in the UK, you can buy the standard variant for £100 less. Whether or not you're going to be able to buy the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra non-4G has left up to be seen. But needless to say, if you are only caring about the CPU, you're getting a better value with the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro. Now, connectivity. The Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra is going to use the 5G X55 modem from Qualcomm. The Exynos variant is not. So in regards to connectivity, if you're getting the 5G variant of both of these devices, you're going to be getting the X55 modem along with the super fast Wi-Fi 6. No compromises on the Xiaomi side, and the only compromise that you're going to have from Samsung is if you decide to buy the Exynos variant. Display. This is something that is a little bit more complicated. Now, the display for Samsung is going to be a 1440 by 3200 pixel display, and it's going to be also a 120 hertz refresh display. Now, Samsung has decided to not allow you to enjoy both of those things. Nor can you enjoy a 90 hertz display at a different display ratio. You're either stuck with full HD and 120 hertz, or you're stuck with the 1440 by 3200 at 60 hertz. There's no middle ground on this, and it's basically asking you to compromise if you want to enjoy the full resolution of the display. Is kind of odd, and it would be nice if Samsung was giving some type of smart AI screen refresh thing, when you're just it feels weird that Samsung is deciding to make this compromise with the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. On the other hand, the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro 5G is coming with a 6.67-inch display. It's slightly smaller than the S20 Ultra, bigger than the other S20 variants, and it's going to be running at 90 hertz with a 180 hertz refresh rate for touch sampling or touch sensing essentially. Samsung hasn't disclosed whether or not they are giving us a higher refresh rate for the touch sensing, but giving us a higher refresh rate for touch input basically allows the device to react faster and to understand your movement before it creates the next frame for the image. This gives users a better overall experience in regards to touch input without putting more stress on the GPU to create those additional frames. Samsung hasn't yet fully disclosed all the full specs of their display, but 1200 nits of peak brightness is about as high as we're going to get. On modern smartphones, the iPhone 11 Pro features something similar for their max peak brightness, and Xiaomi is basically kind of giving us one of the best screens that you can purchase right now. It features DCI-P3, HDR10+, all of the other specs and features you would want from a flagship display. Cameras. Now this is where things get a little bit more detailed. Now the S20 Plus and the S20 all feature a slightly worse, or we could just say different camera array than what we have on the Mi 5. The S20 and S20 Plus feature different camera arrays and just maybe not as good of a main sensor as the S20 Ultra. The S20 Ultra and the Mi 10 Pro 5G feature the same 108 megapixel Samsung made sensor with the same f1.8 aperture, 26 millimeters wide in regards to their field of view. So it's going to look a little bit more cropped in than the image you guys are watching right now. Samsung has decided to give it phase detect autofocus, whereas Xiaomi has given this sensor phase detect autofocus plus laser AF. That just means that in low light, Xiaomi's main camera might have slightly better autofocus performance using the laser AF module. On the telephoto side, we're seeing a 48 megapixel, 102 millimeter field of view telephoto camera. Now it's 102 millimeters in regards to focal length. The 10x hybrid optical zoom is just cropping in on that more. Xiaomi, on the other hand, has given us a 54 millimeter telephoto camera at f2.2 and 12 megapixels. What this means is that you are not going to have the same type of insane zoom that you would have on Samsung. Just based on the physical construction of it, Samsung is going to give you double the zoom optically with that periscope module. Now, it is worth noting that that periscope module is an f3.6. When we compare that to the Mi 5 Pro, that's an f2.2. What this means is that we are going to be getting better low light performance out of the 2x optical zoom on Xiaomi. It's got bigger pixel sizes. It's got a bigger maximum aperture, which means it's going to let in more light. Now, the ultra-wide camera is a different story. The ultra-wide camera on Xiaomi is a 16 megapixel f2.2, 13 millimeters, which is an ultra wide field of view. The Samsung is giving us, again, a 13 megapixel ultra wide, so same field of view, but they're giving us a 12 megapixel camera at f2.2. What this means to you guys is that the pixel size of the Samsung S20 Ultra is going to be slightly larger than what we have on the Mi 10 Pro 5G. At low light, you're going to be getting better ultra-wide image results from the Samsung. During the daytime, you're going to get more detail out of Xiaomi, an extra 4 megapixels more. The Xiaomi features a 5 megapixel depth sensor for time of flight and for portrait shots. The Samsung features like a 2 megapixel time of flight sensor. The front-facing selfie camera is a 20 megapixel f2 ultra wide camera, whereas on the Samsung, we're getting a 40 megapixel f2.2 26 millimeter wide phase detection selfie camera. The phase detection selfie camera with the autofocus on the S20 Ultra is going to be slightly better than what we have on Xiaomi. For the main rear cameras, the S20 Ultra versus the Mi 10 Pro 5G, they should be like pretty comparable outside of that telephoto range. Xiaomi has unveiled their DxO mark. I don't really respect necessarily what DxO mark says at this point in time with the way that they test phones, but it's going to be an impressive camera. Samsung hasn't released their DxO mark yet, so that's left up to be seen. Battery. The S20 Ultra has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, 45 watt wire charging, 15 watt wireless charging. Xiaomi's is slightly lower at 4,500 milliamp hours, but it's got 50 watt wired charging and 30 watt wireless charging. Now, Samsung battery, Samsung charging, those are all hot words, and literally their devices exploded. But Xiaomi is aware of how much heat is generated with their wireless charging. All of their fast wireless chargers feature built-in cooling fans, or their 20 watt did, and I'm going to guess that their 30 watt wireless charger has a built-in cooling fan to help disperse the heat. Although the Samsung has a slightly higher capacity battery, got a more pixel dense display, higher refresh rate, and it charges slightly slower than Xiaomi's device. In regards to charging speed, Xiaomi is going to be a slightly faster device to charge. In regards to the included wired charger, Xiaomi is giving us a higher capacity wired charger. I think it's going to be a 65 watt wired charger in the box that we can use to charge other devices. So You're getting a faster charger with Xiaomi. You're getting just faster overall charging performance, but Samsung, you are getting a bigger battery. Now, price. Now, this is the part that everyone wants to talk about. The price of the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro is the highest price device that Xiaomi has released to date. That said, on paper, UFS 3.0 storage, LPDDR5 RAM, these are basically all of the same specs that we have from the S20 Ultra. But in regards to price, it's coming in at less than half the price. What that means to the final end user? Well, I think that Xiaomi making this device was just Xiaomi's first attempt at giving us like a device with absolutely no compromises, right? Like the Mi 9 was a great device. I loved it. It definitely had compromises. The Xiaomi Mi 8 was like another good device. It had OIS, but still we had a fair amount of compromises for it. This device is almost double the launch price of those last two devices, which makes people think it's not a good value just because people associate the Xiaomi brand with cheaper devices. Whether or not this is a good value is up to the end user, and this is what I want to close on. If you are comparing the Xiaomi Mi 10 to the Redmi K30, obviously you're a more price conscious buyer, and to you, getting the best CPU at the cheapest amount of money is the highest priority. If you're someone looking to buy something like an iPhone 11 Pro, if you're looking to buy a Huawei Mate 30, if you're looking to buy a Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, the Xiaomi Mi 10 is what a lot of those devices are in regards to specs, what we're assumed performance is going to be for camera, and overall just like hardware that we're getting, but we're getting it at half the price. Now, if we compare this and we talk about devices like the Mi 8 or the Mi 9, which were approximately $300 less, $200 less than the Mi 10 Pro, those devices were still about half the cost of their more premium counterparts, right? And as smartphone prices have begun to rise up over time, Xiaomi is raising the price of them, and essentially the Mi 10 Pro is no longer competing with like the $700 or $800 smartphone. Xiaomi's trying to make a device that competes with like the $1,200 smartphone. And if we look at it in that context of Xiaomi is giving us a device that in a lot of ways is a Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra with some slight and kind of less important compromises, we're getting an S20 Ultra at half the price. And we're getting a device that should be better than the S20 and S20 Plus in a variety of ways. Obviously, this is all speculation at this point. I am going to be buying the Mi 10 Pro as soon as it's available here in Vietnam. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly I can get my hands on it with the current coronavirus and like issues with trade that we have right now. But I think that for people wanting a premium device but not wanting to spend the premium price tag, this is going to be competing with a lot higher end phones. And really, I think that the Mi 10 Pro 5G is going to go head to head with what we have from OnePlus with the OnePlus 8 that's supposed to be coming up. And it's going to be interesting to see the overall landscape of smartphones now that we're getting kind of a more price conscious flagship. I don't know what I would call this. Let me know what you guys would in the comment section down below. Till next time, it's been Mitchell. Peace.